Today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners, who for more than 25 years have successfully delivered interim and permanent leadership talent to transform businesses. To hire the talent you need to enable your business to thrive, visit www.progressotalent.com today. Hey listeners, welcome back to Extrology, Insights and Inspiration for a Life of Purpose. In today's episode, we're going to do things a little differently. We're diving into a curated collection of some of the most powerful insights shared by entrepreneurs who've appeared on the podcast. In what is a special edition, I'll be sharing lessons from 5 of the most compelling episodes we've gathered for our Entrepreneurs playlist. Each of these episodes offers a unique look into the minds of founders and CEOs who've built transformative businesses. These leaders have navigated tough economic conditions, grown startups into global powerhouses, and used technology as a force for good. Today, we're going to extract some of the best insights covering topics like managing risk, innovating during crisis, scaling globally, and building businesses with purpose. Whether you're an entrepreneur yourself or just someone who loves hearing about the creative and strategic journeys of remarkable people, this episode will have something for you. And if you've missed any of these episodes, you'll definitely want to go back and dive deeper into each one after this. In terms of who we're featuring, we've got the remarkable Peter Holten Muhlmann first up. Peter is the founder and former CEO of Trustpilot. Peter's journey with Trustpilot is a masterclass in building trust in a digital world. He shares how his small Danish startup grew into one of the most recognized brands in e-commerce, and what it takes to scale a business while maintaining your core values. We've also Tony Connolly, founder of Accounts IQ. Tony launched his business during the 2008 recession, an incredibly challenging time for most entrepreneurs. He managed to turn adversity into opportunity, and today we'll discuss how resilience and innovation can help you thrive even in the toughest of times. Bartosz Skwarczek is the founder of G2A.com. From a humble start, Bartosz has grown G2A into the largest digital marketplace for games and software globally. He'll share insights into how prioritizing people and culture helped him build a billion-dollar brand. Nishant Patel is the founder of Content Stack. He revolutionized the content industry by leading with innovation and predicting the next big trends in digital experiences. We'll explore how embracing constant change has helped him stay ahead in a rapidly evolving tech world. And last, but by no means least, the wonderful Kenneth Berard, founder and CEO of Optimi. Kenneth's story reminds us of the power of using technology as a force for good. As the CEO of Optimi, he demonstrates how businesses can balance innovation and social impact, showing that doing good and doing well can go hand in hand. In today's episode, you'll hear the key lessons from each of these entrepreneurs, from navigating risk and resilience to embracing change and social impact. If you're curious about how these founders overcame their challenges and scaled their businesses, you're in the right place. After you listen to these highlights, I highly encourage you to go back and check out the full episodes in the Entrepreneurs playlist. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we've Peter Holten Muhlmann, the founder of Trustpilot, one of the world's leading digital review platforms. Peter's story is a testament to building trust in a digital world, and his journey has so many lessons for us, especially around scaling a business while staying true to your core values. The key takeaway from my discussion with Peter focused on building trust as a core value within your organization. Peter talks about how trust is at the heart of everything Trustpilot does. Trust in customers, trust in the reviews, and trust in the platform itself. It's easy to see why building trust was foundational for Peter, and what's fascinating is how he ensured that trust was upheld even as the business scaled.
I realized that the internet was lacking trust and the internet economy was really lacking trust. And I partially had that realization from e-commerce experiences going wrong for myself, for people I was close to. I had the realization from my own e-commerce company where we were selling on eBay, and on eBay we had tens of thousands of reviews, so everybody was just comfortable buying from us. But the second people ventured onto our website, they were scared because we were just two kids in an apartment selling electronics and they didn't trust us. But I realized, A, that the internet was a very uncertain place. And I thought, isn't there a way to collect all the information about all these companies? And it was so scattered. The way the internet worked back then was that, I mean, most websites, if you look them up, there was just nothing on them. You could just see the website, and you basically had to make a decision on how professionally looking the website was.
Well, it was almost like businesses took their brochures, didn't they? Historically, we had printed brochures that we would leave with a customer. It was kind of like, well, if we just take that brochure and then we publish it digitally, that's the principle from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And if you looked it up online, maybe you could find if it was a big company, you could find a newspaper writing about them for 3 years ago. Or somebody would ask in a forum, like, hey, does anybody have experience buying from the professional hi-fi company dot something? And a user with a name, the mysterious Big Horse, would say, oh, they're great. And then another user called maybe Dr. Death or something would say, oh, no, they're horrible. And then you had to make up your mind on that. And this is, I think, an interesting point for entrepreneurs in general, is that my original solution for this was not in any way what Trustpilot is today.
Peter's focus on transparency as a core value is something I've seen echoed in my own work. When you're trying to build a brand, especially one that involves customer feedback or public interaction, transparency isn't just a good to have, it's essential. As Trustpilot grew globally, Peter was very intentional about ensuring that the company's mission and values stayed at the core of what they did. It's easy for businesses to lose focus as they expand, but Peter made a conscious effort to scale while preserving Trustpilot's integrity. He talked about scaling with purpose, the challenges of scaling while maintaining that purpose.
We have always been willing to forego revenue if it came at the price of lower trust. And I think that there is a very lasting value in having real purpose. Because at the end of the day, business success only makes you so happy. After a while, you realize the lasting value comes from what are you doing and who are you doing it with. So I've always seen my role as being the person that had to make sure that we were true to our promise. Then the second part is culture, where I've always thought that for you to do your best work, you need to be 100% accepted as being you. If you're in an environment where you really cannot be you in a relaxed way, it can be hard for you to really unlock yourself. So, and just as it's a value for me as a human being that Lee gets to be Lee, in the most beautiful sense of that. And so Trustpilot was always this collection of people that could be themselves and accepted everybody's quirkiness and weirdness and vulnerabilities and so on. So for purpose and for culture, you can really stay true to that, going through all kinds of sizes of the company or stages of maturity. We still care about both of those things today. And then it's more in terms of the operations. How do you run the business that you need to think radically different as the business grows.
When you scale, it's so important to have guardrails in place that ensure your values don't get diluted. One way I've seen this work well is by constantly revisiting your mission statement as a business grows, making sure that every new initiative or expansion is still aligned with that core mission. Peter also talked extensively about leveraging customer feedback. He emphasized how crucial it was to actively use customer feedback as a tool for growth. Trustpilot's transparency with user reviews didn't just build trust, it also created a community of users who felt empowered.
As an afterthought, I thought, maybe it's also a good idea to have a website where people can share their own experience in case we didn't find something online, because that was the case for a lot of businesses. And then it turned out that the information we could scrape from other sources were completely unreliable, that nobody could be bothered to install a toolbar, and if they could, it would break down the second Internet Explorer. I remember they upgraded from version 6 to version 7, and it just crushed us. The entire toolbar just died. But that the website was incredibly popular. People loved to share their opinion, and it was an environment where we could control the authenticity of the information on it. And that's also why people came back and kept reading the reviews, because it was a much more trusted environment than whatever else they could find online. And then that's really been the same story through the years. So it's true that I started Trustpilot, but really I like to say that Trustpilot is the sum of, I think, 1,000 people's good ideas over more than a decade, rather than it is my original genius that has come to life.
Peter talked as to how he leveraged customer feedback to build deeper connections. And that was such a key takeaway. In my own experience, customer feedback is a goldmine of insights, not just for improving your product, but for strengthening customer loyalty. If you're not actively seeking and utilizing feedback, you're missing a huge opportunity. Next up, we've Tony Connolly, the founder of Accounts IQ, who launched his business during the 2008 recession. Tony's resilience in the face of adversity and his ability to innovate under pressure offer us some incredibly valuable lessons. Tony launched Accounts IQ in the middle of a financial downturn, a time when most people were pulling back from risk. What's inspiring to hear is how Tony saw opportunity where others saw obstacles. He talked much about the need for resilience during a crisis. He talked about the mindset shift that helped him launch during a recession. And it was evident that resilience is such a critical factor in entrepreneurship.
We took on our first head of sales in January 2008, and I think Lehman Brothers went bust in March 2008. So it was rather unfortunate timing. And in Ireland, certainly, probably we suffered more than most countries. Unemployment, the economy was booming just prior to that. I think the unemployment rate was 4.2%. And between then and 2011, it went up to 14.5%. So it had a massive impact on our country. And we would go along to do presentations. Our initial target market was accounting firms in terms of delivering a platform on the web that would allow them service their clients and address that need of kind of the month end, spreading the load and doing stuff in a more collaborative way was very much the vision. And we were going along meeting accountants and presenting it, here is a system that you can use. And I remember one guy saying, well, it looks like a really good system, but we're too busy trying to save our clients. So as I like to say to some people, during that period, we were able to perfect the product in the absence of having to service lots of customers.
What I take from Tony's story is the importance of reframing adversity. Rather than seeing crisis as roadblocks, see them as opportunities to innovate. Tony didn't just survive the recession, he thrived by innovating in areas that were overlooked. Accounts IQ's focus on cloud-based accounting was ahead of the curve at a time when many businesses were still reliant on outdated systems. Tony shared with me how he spotted an opportunity in the cloud-based accounting space, a great example of how innovation can emerge from constraints.
Interesting enough, we used at the time a product called Sage 50, or the firm used that product, and which was a very successful product. But I went and met Sage at the time to say, could you not do this? Could you not use the web? And they were really, why would we do that? Like, why would our clients wouldn't feel that their data would be safe if we put it in what's now called the cloud, but it's kind of become the cloud. It was the web, and there was this all intrigue as to, well, if it's sitting in the web, where exactly is it, and is it safe? I remember one of my early presentations of Accounts IQ going along to an accounting firm, and the partner pointing over at the server sitting in the corner of the boardroom saying, all my information is sitting on that server over there. Isn't it safe because I can see it? And so trying to explain to them that in actual fact, if you with the proper data security infrastructure, your data is far safer in the cloud. So there was a lot of that going on at the time in terms of just trying to understand it. So I saw the opportunity and left that firm, and a number of the people who worked for me actually came with me and set up what is now Accounts IQ.
Sometimes it's precisely when things are tough that you find the best ideas. In my own work, I've seen innovation come from looking, at what others are missing. Tony also talked us to the power of long-term vision. One of the reasons Tony was able to navigate the tough times of that 2008 recession and indeed the early days of Accounts IQ was his long-term vision. While many were focused on short-term survival, Tony had his eye on building a business that will be scalable and sustainable for years to come.
I was very focused on trying to keep the team together, and there was things to consider, like people had some of the people involved had families and so on. So you need to make sure that you could keep that together as best as possible. And we did restructure in 2012, and kind of there can be a lot of difficulty in that process because there's lots of hurdles and complexity in fundraising. And I was lucky enough to have that business background and accounting background, so I understood all of this. But there's an awful lot of technology people who get involved in fundraising, and they don't really understand what they're getting involved in. And there's all sorts of structures in anti-dilution and double dips and all these things coming through from venture capital and angel investors and so on that you need to watch out for. And I was lucky enough to be able to kind of maneuver my way around those in a way that we were able to find a way of restructuring and bringing a bit of capital into the company and moving forward from there.
He talked about the importance of balancing short-term survival with that long-term growth. And that was a takeaway that resonates so strongly with me. It's easy to get caught up in short-term wins, but successful businesses are built on long-term strategy. If you're thinking about what's next quarter rather than what's 5 years down the line, you're limiting your potential. Bartosz Skwarczek is the founder of G2A.com, the largest digital marketplace for games and software. Bartosz's journey shows us how focusing on people and culture can turn a good company into a great one. He talked about prioritizing people over profit. He's a strong believer in building a company culture that prioritizes people over that profit. He's seen firsthand how putting employees first can lead to better business outcomes and ultimately greater profitability. He talked long as to the importance of culture at G2A, such a valuable lesson.
Sometimes people look at the digital space and they're saying, hey, in digital space, the most important thing is technology, because this is all digital, online, AI, blockchain, all the buzzwords you can name here. No, in my opinion, of course, I respect different approaches because I saw amazing entrepreneurs with a different approach, and it also works. Our approach is, it all starts with people. It all starts with culture. It all starts with the DNA you have. Watch out, long term. If you want to build the long-term business, then the culture is the most important. If you want to build a short-term business, like 1 year business, quickly, boom, 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 sell it. The culture is not so important. You doesn't need it. You need KPIs, investors' money, boom, sell it. Okay, forget about it. Yeah, the deal is done. You have the money, you can start another startup, sell it within 1 or 2 years. But if you are Jeff Bezos' way, 20 years plus old business, Elon Musk way, and many other great leaders, then the culture thing, the footprint you do, it's crucial. It's like a cornerstone for the business you build.
If you prioritize your people, the profits will follow. In my own career, I've seen how investing in your team's well-being directly correlates to a stronger, more committed workforce. Bartosz talked about expanding globally with local sensitivity. He highlighted the importance of being sensitive to local markets when expanding globally. His approach wasn't about imposing one corporate culture everywhere. It was about adapting and respecting different cultures. He discussed the nuances of scaling G2A into new markets.
We decided to go fully digital. And I think that was also one of the reasons of our success, that we really wanted to deliver the digital experience, top-notch, the best experience you can imagine for the client, act globally, but feel the client and be with the client locally. That was the reason why we implemented over 200 payment methods to be close to the client. When you are from Brazil, you doesn't want to pay with Paytm, with PayPal, but with Paytm. Yeah, in Brazil, you don't use credit cards. You use boleto. And if you don't have these mechanisms, this payment system, these PSPs, then you will not get the best conversion, success rates, and the clients.
Undeniably, expanding globally is a challenge, but Bartosz's lesson here is critical. Don't just impose your business model. Understand the culture, adapt, and localize your approach. This is something any global company needs to keep in mind. As for building a billion-dollar brand, he focused on innovation and strategic partnerships. Those strategic partnerships were absolutely essential to G2A's growth. The takeaway here is that strategic partnerships can fuel massive growth. It's not just about what you can do, it's about finding the partners who align with your vision and can help you reach new heights.
At the very beginning, we were just online store. So we bought games and we sold games to the clients. We started with zero capital, just put a little bit of money into the business, and that was it. And we were very successful. We started buying, selling games, and within 2 years, we were one of the leading seller in Europe of World of Warcraft, Blizzard game. So I was knocking the door, literally, all the doors to the big publishers, saying, hey, hello, please see me. I am here. We would love to have an official agreement with you. We are an online store, and we would love to work with you directly, because we were buying games from wholesalers and different kind of retail sellers, etc. And the gaming industry was and is very hermetic. And I was traveling around the world, all the trade shows, from the United States to Germany to Korea to Japan, everywhere. And nobody wanted to talk to me. Like nobody, literally. No big publisher gave me a shot. They were saying, we already have wholesalers, go on. And we were frustrated because we wanted to do the business, scaling it, but we couldn't. So we figured out, okay, we changed the business model. Let's build a marketplace. Because the marketplace business model, you have a lot of sellers. Everybody can sell, everybody can buy. They just have to follow terms and conditions, the law, period. And that was 2014 when we did the pivot. And that was the moment when the business really started to grow up.
Next up on the Entrepreneurs playlist is Nishant Patel, founder of Content Stack. Nishant is a visionary who has consistently been ahead of the curve in the content industry, leading innovations that revolutionize digital experiences. His story is all about the power of anticipating trends and being ready to adapt at any moment. He talked about embracing constant change, emphasizing the importance of staying ahead by anticipating changes rather than just reacting to them. His success with Content Stack is largely thanks to his ability to identify where the industry was heading and being ready for it before anyone else.
Getting to the headless CMS bit. As a software engineer, all I knew how to do was build software. I didn't know how to run business. So to bring in the money, we basically started taking, software projects. So helping people move to the cloud. And there's a bunch of folks at TIPCO that I knew, so they knew how hard I worked. So they're like, hey, can you help me move this stuff to the cloud? And so I started doing that. And next thing you know, our services business grew tremendously, right? But I was still a product guy. So I would take the profits of the services business and carve out like 1, 2, 3 people team and kind of put them on the side and say, hey, let's build, this integration software. Plus, we were helping people with, content management as well, like old software, right? Moving to the cloud. And we're like, this is crazy. We're just taking this old crap and just deploying it on the cloud and calling it's cloud enabled. It needs to be built from scratch again. That was sort of the thought. And mobile also started taking off like in 2008, 2009. So there was more channels now. Instead of just a web channel for content, there's a mobile channel, right? So there's 2 different channels. And then we said, well, this is going to be insane. Like, you're going to have kiosks, digital kiosks, all those things. So the channels are going to keep increasing. You also have the social media channel. So let's just write the content management bit from scratch again in the cloud, right? So that's where we created our like API first CMS, and in 2014, I think Forrester coined the term headless and gave us credit for it. And there's another competitor that they said, okay, these guys have like started this new thing called headless CMS. So it was a long journey towards that. It wasn't just like overnight I came up with this idea.
He talks about how predicting the evolution of headless CMS became his major breakthrough. The key lesson here is to always keep an eye on the horizon. By being proactive and agile, Nishant turned a powerful trend into an opportunity to lead an industry. In my own work, I've seen the value of paying attention to what's coming next, not just in business, but in our own personal development. He talked extensively about innovating with customer-centric solutions. Another powerful insight from his journey is his approach to innovation, always starting with the customer's challenges. Rather than trying simply to build the most technically advanced product, he focused on creating something that solved real problems for his users. He shares how listening to customer pain points shaped content stacks' core features.
As you're kind of servicing or helping customers build software products, you're very close to the problem. As a services company, you're like talking to the customers every single day and the problems that they're having. And then you're thinking about solutions using sort of the new tech, right? At that time, it was cloud and mobile. So how can you sort of help solve those problems with this new technologies, right? And so, the services company kind of took off. Like I said, it just ballooned. And then, I would keep all that profits and basically start a bunch of products. Like, it wasn't just the integration product and the content management product, which is the digital transformation one. We had a bunch of other ones as well that, I would say commercially they weren't successful, but I think they helped us build tech that we eventually used on some of these successful products. So I think just that journey of just being very close to the customer and close to the problem, and also just being nerds about, adopting new technologies.
Great products are built from empathy. What stands out to me here is how customer-centric innovation doesn't just make your product better, it makes it indispensable. In a world of constant change, this kind of focus can be your biggest advantage. Lastly, we turn to Kenneth Ballard, founder and CEO of Optimi. Kenneth's journey is an inspiring example of how technology can be harnessed as a force for good. At Optimi, he's shown that businesses don't have to choose between profitability and social impact. They can and should do both. Kenneth's story teaches us that innovation should not only be about advancing technology, it should be about bettering society. He built Optimi with the goal of helping organizations manage and optimize their social impact initiatives, and he's shown us that technology can have a true purpose beyond profits. He shares how Optimi creates solutions that are both innovative and socially meaningful.
It's like in philanthropy. Sometimes I hear people, you say XYZ CEO is giving back 50% of his money. And you hear people say, yeah, but anyway, he has the 50% other money. You're like, okay, but come on. So I think I think corporations are key. Public government and so on don't have that much money to give back anymore. Someone has to give back. And I think companies do it, and we should thank them for it. Of course, they buy an image. Of course, they look nice. Of course, they're an energy company or whatever, and do that to really protect their image. Now, I have one thought that is growing more and more in my head, and that I've been discussing with some of the people I meet in the industry, is that I think it's very good that companies give back, that they have a positive impact. But I think that not only it should be aligned with their business goal, but ideally it should be more than an intersection. It should be an integration. For me, ideally, as a company, if you manage to have a positive impact in a way that it directly impacts your business, that's sustainable. It will continue over time. You will continue to invest there, and it will grow over time. And a simple example of that, I will take the example of Optimi. I mentioned we didn't think really about it. It happened naturally. But indeed, we have welcomed people from around the world without any barrier. And we did that by conviction, but it deserves our business. Today, Optimize revenue in Belgium is what, maybe 8% of our revenue? 92% is outside of Belgium. We would have never done that if we didn't have all these people coming from abroad and bringing this culture and so on. So we did it to have a positive impact, but it directly served our own business goal. And I think that if organization can do that, I was talking about it with a colleague in Canada, an ex-colleague of Accenture, was running the ATP program over there, and he worked a lot with integration of migrants into companies. And if you're a company and you integrate and you do the investment of integrated migrants in your company, and you can show over time that the retention rate is higher, that these people, they want to succeed, they will fight, they will learn, they will grow, there will be a direct impact on the performance of your organization. So even more than, if you can do more than tell a story, but really, really integrate your positive impact initiative into your business activities, then you win. I have other example like that is when you run a volunteering program with your team, you have a cohesion, you create a cohesion between your team. Maybe Paul and Elizabeth, who didn't know each other, they volunteer together, and after they come back, they get on well together, and so on. You get a direct impact on your own business and the performance of your team. So if you manage to integrate it, because you know that's not a nice to have, but a must have, try to really find a way so it impacts your business directly. And then what you do will be sustainable. You will continue over time, and you will not just do it because you have too much profit this year and you have to show good. You will do it even if your revenue go down.
This takeaway is one of my favorites: innovation with purpose. It's a reminder that as entrepreneurs, we have an opportunity to create businesses that solve meaningful problems and have a positive impact on society. He also dives into the importance of not only creating impact, but also measuring it effectively. He talks about how businesses often struggle to quantify their social contributions and how optimized tools help them understand and amplify the difference they're making. He explains why measuring impact is critical for staying accountable and motivated.
We are just a machine in a way. What we do is that we help them transforming their resources into the highest positive impact possible. So I'm a company, I want to invest money, people, through volunteering, and we help them transforming the resource that they want to dedicate to positive initiatives into the highest impact possible. How? As a tool, we help them to be efficient, to gather data everywhere, to receive requests in the right way, select them, follow the projects, follow the budget, follow the data, gather the data, generate reports, look at reports, see what you do well, what you do less well, what you should change, what you should adapt, and so on. So we really act like a machine, helping them to transform their investment into the highest impact possible.
Impact measurement can be a game changer, not just for demonstrating accountability, but also for inspiring people to push forward. When you can see the tangible differences your work is making, it becomes a powerful motivator. Kenneth's approach to growth is not just about scaling quickly. It's about doing so in a way that stays true to the values and mission of Optimize. He talks about the need to grow with sustainability in mind so that the impact and mission are not compromised as the company expands. He discusses how staying focused on their mission has helped Optimize achieve sustainable growth.
Don't try to create a kind of fake positive impact or just tell a story. Yes, you can do that if you want and tell a story about your team going out and picking up rubbish or whatever. You can do that, but it would not be sustainable. So the impact would not be sustainable. Try to find something which really deserves your why, and as I mentioned in our case, again, our vision is to serve as many companies as possible. To do that, we need to internationalize. To internationalize, we need people from everywhere. So we welcome people. We give a chance to people. They give us a chance also because they join us. It's not just us giving them a chance. And that helps us to grow. So be honest, be authentic. Don't just try to do marketing, and be smart. Try to really find the value that your impact social impact, positive impact can have on your own business over time.
Sustainable growth is key. In a fast-paced world, it can be tempting to scale at all costs, but true success lies in balancing growth with staying true to your core mission. This is something I feel strongly about when thinking about how I want Extrology to grow. Meaningful growth over just metrics. That brings us to the end of this special Entrepreneurs Playlist edition. I hope these insights have inspired you, whether you are an entrepreneur yourself or simply interested in the journeys of remarkable business leaders. The stories of Peter, Tony, Bartosz, Nishant and Kenneth have given us so much to think about, from building trust and culture to scaling businesses with integrity and innovating for positive social change. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could leave us a review on your favourite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you these thought-provoking conversations. And if there's a particular theme or group of guests you'd like to hear more about, don't hesitate to get in touch. I'd love to curate more playlists like this based on what you find most valuable. Remember, you can always find these episodes and much more on our website, extrology.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Just a reminder, today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners. Visit www.progressotalent.com today for more information.